give credit when credit is due. Just a little free music this morning. I'm tired of getting copy stricken, man. So you have to give the people credit for using their stuff. Like Jacob Lazat for his royalty-free heavy metal violence machine. Yeah, feeling it. Oh, yeah. So there you go, man. Mark's Conte reporting. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to wake up to some heavy metal. So today, there's a lot going on, man. I want to reiterate a lot of the things I said yesterday because there's some important shit going on right now. Right? So that Dr. Seidel, Dr. Seidel, he's the real deal. I found some more information. I can't remember the person who gave it to me right now off the top of my head, but I'll try later. You'll probably in the chat. I forgot who gave it to me. But we have the video of Dr. Seidel. He is in fact from Brooklyn. He is in fact working at Maimonides Hospital. He is in fact a real doctor. We can kind of sort of prove it through a WebMD video that we found him in. So a lot of we'll look at that. We'll look at the idea of the ventilators being misused. Ventilation being misused. We'll look at fear itself, right? People are fucking scared shit, right? Evidence. You want evidence that people are scared shit? Look how much toilet paper they bought. Right? People are fucking shitting in their pants over this, right? And it creates a response. It creates a real the fight or flight syndrome, which is, your heart starts racing, you get a little flush, right? You start to hyperventilate. You don't know if you're going to get eaten alive. Real fear, or the dull anxiety, that dull anxiety, like, oh, doom, I'm going to fucking die. Holy shit, man, I got coronavirus. I'm going to die. And you sit with that for a while and it kills you. Right? And, so fear itself and the vaccine pushers, right? One of the top ones, I'm kind of late to the story, but the vaccine mofos that push that shit on people, man, fucking, it's crazy. When you realize what vaccines are and how brutally wrong they've been historically, right? Then you say to yourself, it's a business. It's a business. And you got guys like Bill Gates leading that charge. He's leading the fucking charge. So let's look at good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. In the house, I'm feeling more awake today. It's very, very windy. I saw, Vinny, I saw your comment this morning. The fucking tornadoes blowing shit down, right? They're blowing shit down in the south there. I caught a couple of videos. There's tornadoes all across the south, right? All right, we'll take a look at some of that shit, man. I hope you're all right. I hope your roof didn't get blown off. You're here with us. Look, so here's some tornadoes as a warm-up, man. So this shit's going down in the southern states. It looks like Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, and then some. Check it out. Look at the destruction, man. Oh, damn. Yeah, Vinny. So this is what it looks like. How about in your neck of the woods? Is anybody seeing any of this? Because this is some severe shit, right? Like to pull the roof off a house, that's like 140 mile an hour winds. It's lifting shit up, knocking trees. Look at this. Knocked over a a fucking 18-wheeler. Knocked it on its ass. Blew the roof. Look at this. Toro. So, as if coronavirus wasn't bad enough. A tornado hits. It's like salt on the wound. So anyway, Mark's Conte reporting. You know what I'm saying? Loss of power. That sucks. I'm still up and running, man. No big deal here. Corona stock still hit all-time lows. Corona's stock. I don't know what that means. Jason Walsh in the house. Vinny DiMartini. Eric Williams is here. Magadoobie, Kingfish Kebab. Kingfish Kebab. Vanderloo. Cruz Red Eye. Jerry Fleming is in the house. Eric Williams. What's up, everybody? Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me, man. This is good, man. Marcus in the morning, man. We're gonna do more of this. We're just getting started. People. Andy Garcia, what's up, man? What's up? We're just getting started, man. I'm looking at a website right now. I want to get a website. So I have a website, it's just a fucking website, right? Because I think I've earned it. I had fucking blowing out YouTube. YouTube's trying to shut me down, right? Over and over again. So we're gonna expand a little bit and get this mofo fucking going, right, man? Right? Do some more. Big mama in the house. So fear. Let's talk about fear. Who is this woman that you've been staring at for the last minute? Right? It's fear, right? Frightened to die. It's so. Is it real? Is it real? Is it a real phenomenon when you're sick and someone tells you you're gonna die? Remember again, AIDS. Great example, right? We have that historically. There's so many parallels between AIDS and coronavirus in terms of experimental drug use, experimental therapies, and experimental drugs. I think I said that. And also fear. People who had AIDS were terrified that they were going to die because why? They were told they were going to die. They have a terminal illness that's going to kill them. And it turns out it wasn't true. It was true in some situations, mostly the situations where people were getting poisoned in the hospitals. They were being force-fed AZT and all other kinds of treatments, right? And they're constantly told you're going to die. The fear of never being able, they were told you'll never be able to touch somebody again safely. You got to live in a bubble, motherfucker. You have to live in a bubble because you're a danger to us. Isn't it similar to the old lady that, if you watched a video of me in the park and the lady, when she realized that I didn't have a protective mask on, although she did have one on, she was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. How dare you get close to me without a mask on? Right, that kind of shit, right? Fear. That old fucking bitch probably pass out and die, right? Because she thinks now she's got it on her. Oh, it's got the fucking shit on her. So it is this whole situation, trauma-based mind control. Yeah, it is. I don't think it starts out that way, but I think I'm not conspiratorial in that sense. For this, I don't think it was planned. Anyone who's saying that it was a leak out of a laboratory, well, that's true, but that's what viruses are. Viruses, most antibodies and antibiotics and all this shit are manufactured in laboratories. That's why you should stop doing it. Right? They manufacture it, they inject it into a piglet, they feed that piglet to other pigs and try to harvest the antibodies. Where do you think antibodies come from? They scrape it off the ass of a cow or a pig. They literally, right, this is what's going on, right? And you're injecting that stuff under your skin. It's experimental at best. People are gonna, still gonna take it. Right? We'll talk about that later. The vaccine shit, but fear that I'm going to die. Listen to this lady. Nice lady. So, I guess a bus driver.
Good morning.
Bus driver in England.
Good morning, everybody. I'm a London bus driver, and I've got up this morning to the news that we've now lost 20 bus drivers to this COVID-19.
So she's listening to mainstream media. They're telling her people are dying all around you. Be afraid.
So from 7 o'clock this morning, I've been writing letters to my son, to my daughter, to my 3 grandchildren, to my mum and dad in Jamaica, and to my brothers and sisters. Because if I succumb to COVID-19, I will be put in a coma, and I will not have the opportunity to say goodbye to the ones that I love. My auntie died all alone, and now she will be buried all alone. But I want my children and...
I just want to play some other music. I hear some copyright strikeable music underneath her, so I just want to drown it out with some heavy metal. You can still hear what you're saying. Sorry about that.
My family to have the letters that I've written, because I'm put at risk by TFL and Khan by not providing a safe environment for me to work in. I'm 63 years of age. I'm proud to drive a London bus. I'm proud to do my job. I'm proud to get frontline services to their workplace to help people. That's why I'm still driving. But I'm frightened. I'm frightened that I'm going to die. Because nobody in government, TfL will not listen to us and block off our buses. They will not do anything about the people roaming the streets. I've had people day after day get on my bus for no reason, putting me at risk. And it's not fair. My life matters. If it doesn't matter to anybody else, it matters to my family. And I just need someone to take notice and protect us while we provide the service. Put our lives before profit. Khan and TfL, please, I beg you, think of me and my family.
That's pretty heavy, right? It's heavy. It almost jerks a tear. It's almost like, wow, you feel like this, you feel like a tearjerker, right? I'm trying not to I'm not making fun of it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying that the woman is scared. She works in please, somebody help me. Somebody help me. Right? As if someone has to help me. How dare the virus, this killer virus flowing around I don't know what it is. Is it on somebody? Is it on my fucking steering wheel? Is it on my stick shift? Is it in the bus? Are people bringing fear? Fear, you walk around with that, and we all know how fear feels, what it feels like. It's like I'm fucking, it's fight or flight. You feel like your heart starts pounding, and I mean, everybody, I guess there's 10 different ways. If you had 10 people, you'd have 10 different ways of experiencing fear. But anxiety, depression, it's something to think about. We're going to show some biological reasons what actually happens. Let's move along. So that was the tornado video. I'll get rid of that one. So other things to be fearful of. The coronavirus spreads at least 13 feet, travels on shoes. Right? As if the CDC hasn't done enough, right? Now they're telling us the fucking shit is traveling on shoes. Look at this, right? Just more fearmonger. That's all it is, right? This is just a biological fear. Now, what about the financial fear? Oh, that's devastating. You ever been on the balls of your ass before? You ever been down to your last dollar? I have. I know what that feels like. You ever been out on the street, last dollar? Not even a dollar. You got 26 cents in your pocket? Ha 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 ha. Fear, right? And you handle it because if you're a warrior, you handle it. That's why I'm a road warrior. That's why I walk up to motherfuckers and ask them, how you feeling? What's going on, man? That's why I'm fucking famous. That's why, but that sense of fear is very real. And it is toxic. It's toxic. It's like, the predators or the online predators. I'm going to fucking get you, motherfucker. You son of a bitch, you motherfucker. I got you, man. You're going to get... And they follow you around every fucking day, everywhere you go, because they want your fame. They want you. They want to integrate you into their bullshit, right? It's just minor, right? But when your life is in threat, when your life is in danger, you got motherfuckers showing up on the door, and you gotta go for yours, right? To keep them out of the way, right? This shit is no joke. That's what I'm talking about today, man. So coronavirus can travel through the air at least 13 feet. That's like a fart. You remember the last time I talked about, they said that the toilet bowl, it throws a fucking, when you flush the toilet and coronavirus lives in feces, and you flush the toilet and you got a toilet plum, a plum of toilet corona. Come on already. Come on, right? That's not how it transmits. It transmits through, you have to get a significant amount and touch the surface, and then rub it into your fucking nostrils. Pick your nose, rub your eyeball, rub your mouth, put your finger in your ear. Right, those are the 4 entries. Nose, mouth, eyes, ears. It doesn't absorb into your fucking hand because you touched it, unless of course you have, open wound on your hands. Unless you have open wounds on your hands, maybe. But otherwise, those are the ways of transmission. But anyway, be fearful because someone's going to sneeze 13 feet away from you and you're going to catch it. The coronavirus can travel through the air at least 13 feet. I don't believe this. More than twice as far as social distancing guidelines, according to a report from the Center for Disease Control. Center for Disease Control is coming up a whole lot lately, and it seems like they're pushing this vaccination bullshit. Center for Disease Control. Watch how many times their name keeps coming up. Who the fuck are they? We need to do a deep dive into the Center for Disease Control. Research published in the federal agency's Emergency Infectious Disease Journal shows that contagion spreading far further than previous official suggestions, and also getting spread on people's shoes. On their shoes. Really. The aerosol distribution characteristics indicate that the transmission distance of COVID-19 might be 4 meters. Furthermore, half of the samples from the soles of the IC medical staff shoes tested positive. All right, so doctors, they shouldn't be walking out. They should be fucking, they should be debugging inside the hospital. They shouldn't be walking out. You're hanging around. You're in close proximity to a disease, a contagious disease all day long. You shouldn't be walking out the hospital without a clothes change, without a bath, without, you know what I'm saying? Switching out your old shit with your new shit. So that's what they found. They found that the shoes of ICU medical staff were COVID-19 infected in the Wuhan district in China. That's where they found it. So again, reaffirms fear. Report based on research by a team of academics in the military medical sciences in Beijing appear to reaffirm fears that the current social distancing guidelines of 6 feet may not be enough. Blah, 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 blah. What are we going to do? Stay 100 feet from each other? This is like bubble shit, right? No. But the solution, I'm telling you, what they're going to say is, it can't be contained. People are too close to each other. Vaccinate them. Give them the vaccine, right? We need a pill, something debilitating, right? So that, look, the bottom line with vaccines is that when you take a flu vaccine, you drop your shields. You drop your own ability to manufacture a defense, to lodge a defense, to put up a defense from a virus invading your body, because you're doing it synthetically, and your body gets weaker. Right? You don't have the ability. It's hard to explain. I understand it because I studied, biology and chemistry and physiology for 4 years in a school. But what happens is the body loses its ability to fend off things on its own when you become dependent. It's like, for example, here's a way to understand it without getting into biology. You're stressed out. You don't know how to cope. You don't know how to deal with what life is throwing at you. So you go to a doctor and they give you antidepressants. Or before that, you took it into your own hands and you smoked on a daily basis because the marijuana made your anxiety go away. It worked. Right? It actually works for a while. And then underlying there, the anxiety is still there. Or you take the drink. You take that drink every day at 2 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, and then maybe 4 or 5 of them at 10 o'clock. And you keep taking that drink or you go to the doctor because you're a good little boy and you don't want to sniff no heroin to make your woes go away. So you get some legal heroin. You get some opioids. You get some shit, right? And you take that, and then you get addicted to that. And what you're doing is you're relinquishing your ability to deal with stress and deal with what life is going to throw. You're dependent on something outside of yourself to help you. And in absence of that thing outside of yourself, what happens? I mean, it's so well documented. It's called withdrawal. You see people lose their ability to cope in the real world without the use of substances. And I can speak personally from that because I experienced it 25 years ago as got addicted to just about everything. And, You follow what I'm saying? It's very similar. Vaccines are similar, where they cause the body biologically to lose its ability to fight a natural process. That's what I'm trying to say. So be fearful. Be fearful. Don't touch the doctor's shoes. No foot porn, and don't kick a doctor because he might kick you back. So just be aware of that. Right? Don't kick the doctor because the doctor may kick you back. So let's stay on the notion of fear, and then we'll get into the vaccines, and I'm going to show you the footage of the ventilators. This might be a long show, right? How long are we going already? What else you got to do, man? It's fucking miserable outside. It's raining. I don't know how about you guys, but it looks like the trees are swaying in New York, man. It's raining. It's cold. It's fucking. Just stay inside, man. Hang out here, man. We got nothing else to do, right? So nursing home deaths soar past 3,300 in an alarming surge. Be fearful, old people. You're going to fucking die, man. We're going to... Coronavirus is coming to get you. Everybody in a nursing home is almost always vaccinated. You're coughing, you're choking, they're all fucking vaccinated. You go into a nursing home, your life is not your own anymore. You can't even sew a sentence together anymore. Where's your family? Oh, they gave him the flu virus because if he catches the flu, he's going to die. So they give you the flu virus that kills you anyway. All right? No defense, right? Because old people are most vulnerable because they can't get up and exercise. They can't do the things that a normal person should do, which is for the psychological problems of fear, meditation. To know that, hey, listen, you're going to die anyway, man. It doesn't really matter. You may die today or you may die a month from now, but either way, you're going to fucking die. Or that's how you learn to cope, like the Buddha. Buddha, I know yesterday was Jesus Day, but the Buddha said, mindfulness, focus on the mind, focus on your thought patterns. Follow your breath, right? Know yourself. Know who you are, right? And know that you're going to fucking die anyway. And what's the problem? What's the big deal? Right? You don't want to die right away, but ultimately, fear of death is not a legitimate fear. Fear of death is a weakness, right? Because you can't. Fear of death, when you run across the street and a car is coming and you jump out of the way and your heart starts pounding, that's a fight or flight, legitimate, necessary fear. It saves your life. What I'm talking about is the nagging, ongoing mental obsession of dying, the mental obsession of catching something that you can't catch. These are all documented, well documented, and the fake news media and and our government, for lack of a better term, promotes these things, promotes the fear. The pharmaceutical industry loves fear. They love it. They make money on fear. You make money on fear, and then you take away people's free will. And that's the point of the vaccines. That's what I suspect. I said it all along, but now the evidence is starting to come out, right? Even what I do is evolutionary, right? You like yesterday, I wasn't sure if that doctor was real and what he was saying about the ventilation is real. And now, even a day later, I'm kind of sure that he is real, right? That's evolution. That's getting off your high horse, and when wrong, promptly admit it, right? That's what that is. And I wasn't wrong. I'm just saying that my estimations of vaccines, what role vaccines have played previously in the onset of coronavirus and the higher death rate is becoming more obvious. The use of intubation. I said it when I didn't even know what intubation was. When I forgot the word. I was calling it incubation. But intubation of sticking a tube, the ventilator, down someone's throat and pumping oxygen into the alveoli. I suspected right away that was a big mistake. And sure enough, we have our evidence, right? It's starting to come out. So don't kiss any doctor's shoes. If you're in a nursing home, don't be afraid of the old people, please. That's horrible. Go to if you're not sick right now, why don't you go to a nursing home and play guitar? I used to do that. I used to fucking do that. I was a dietitian, and I used to come in and play Happy Birthday with my guitar. I was singing in the middle of the... That's why I'm not a dietitian anymore. I wasn't very good at the medical field, medical part of it, but I was more of. I found that entertainment was more my thing, you know. But so lots of people are dying in nursing homes. Not good. Again, it's because of the age. It's because of most people that are already committed to a nursing home are already on the end of their game. They're immobile. They're locked in a chair. They can't walk. They get a fucking broken hip. Whatever. It's senile. They're suffering from dementia, and now you're going to stick a tube up their nose and intubate them. Oh man, you're just killing people, man. You're just killing them. Right. So, what else, right? Again, not to say that coronavirus is fake. What we're now seeing, the evidence that I'll say this briefly, the evidence of coronavirus being real is now, I think it's undeniable at this point. It is a spin-off of the flu. We know that it already exists in 5 to 15% of influenza flu. Right? It exists. It's already there. Right? Now, I don't know the exact breakups and breakdowns and mechanisms by which coronavirus was already in flu, but that's clear that somehow this thing mutated and created something called COVID-19. It's a mutation. Whether it was created in the laboratory as a vaccine and then injected into people is very, very possible. Now, is there a conspiracy to infect people with something toxic and kill them? That's ridiculous. Is there a monetary goal in injecting people with a virus with a vaccine that they can profit from and make people dependent on? Oh, you bet your ass there is. You bet your ass. Make people dependent on the yearly flu shots. A lot of money in that shit. Right? Make people fucking dependent on Budweiser and Doobie. Make it legal. So here's a story, quick story, more fear, and then we're moving on. Teen commits suicide, likely over stress from coronavirus lockdown. Fucking nice little kid. Look at a 16-year-old, 15-year-old kid. 50-year-old JoJo Smith found dead at her Stockholm home where she hung herself amid the state's stay-at-home orders. Fucking hung herself, man. I can't stay at home. Fucking sneak out the back door. You're 15. What are they going to do? Bring you back home? Not going to throw you in jail. Her mother, Daniel Hunt, said that Smith left no note explaining her death. Fucking tragedy, right? Fucking tragedy. 10 people, as I said, 10 people's fear manifests differently. So now you're going to get a higher suicide. No, is this death right here of the girl? Is this death by coronavirus? Is she a statistic of coronavirus because she was fearful of corona? It's death. It's suicide by. Right? Is this another statistic? Are they going to add this statistic onto the already ridiculous statistics of how many people died from coronavirus? Probably. So here's the chemistry of fear. Let's read this. This is pretty good. I forgot where. Oh, so fight or flight. What happens when you encounter a potentially harmful stimulus is a chain reaction. The amygdala, those words, amygdala is the part of your brain that receives information from many parts of the brain and interprets the information. Blah, blah, blah. Fight or flight. Fight or flight. Everybody knows this one, right? You're walking down the street and two thugs come up in your camera behind you and you're walking, you're doing your show, and you see two motherfuckers following you up the block and your heart starts pounding and you're like, oh shit, man, this fucking guy's gonna roll me, right? That's fight or flight. What do? Fight? Stand and fight? Or do I run like a sissy Mary? There's no shame in running, by the way. When you're outnumbered, man, run like a motherfucker. So that's what I do, man. I drop everything and I run. You're not gonna fight three people. Why would you do? How stupid, right? Grab your shit and run. That's why I go out and exercise, man. Because I got a big mouth, right? And like I could definitely see getting my ass kicked. It hasn't happened lately, but I could definitely see that. So I opt for flight. Right? When I'll fight, but it's easier for flight because I'm in shape, right? People don't think they think like, oh, this guy's old. He's like, and then they try to chase you and you fucking run and they can't catch you. They say to themselves, wow, this motherfucker can run, man. This guy's got some lungs, man. That's why I'm on the bicycle, too. Keep your fight or flight shit together. So the fight or flight response requires food and oxygen for cellular respiration that provides the energy to increase blah, 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 right? So we know what it is. But here's the chemistry to it. Fear hormones and the endocrine system. Hormones are another way the messengers travel to many different parts of the body through the bloodstream. There are actual chemical messengers secreted by the endocrine system. The adrenal gland is an endocrine gland, blah, 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 produces two fear hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline and cortisol. Fear hormones are secreted by the adrenal gland, circulate through the bloodstream to all cells of the body. The effect of adrenaline is similar to the effect of the sympathetic nerve action. Adrenaline increases heart rate and breathing by diluting blood vessels. This decreases blood flow. Okay, so we know what it is. It's a chemical reaction. Fear is fucking real. One more fear. There we go. The mystery of fear, motherfucker.
And haunted houses, that time of year when many of us get a taste for being scared senseless. Getting that jolt of adrenaline can be thrilling, and tons of fun for some, but what attracts us to the sensation of fear? And more importantly, what is fear exactly?
So fear is the expectation or the anticipation of possible harm. When you learn to fear something, you are learning to fear something that triggers the actual threat or that signals that the actual threat is impending. The body is highly sensitive to the possibility of threat, and so there's multiple pathways that bring that fear information into your brain. So let's say that you're alone in your house at night, it's dark, and you hear a crash. The nerves in your ears that transduce that sound is the first part of the nervous system in action. That signal is relayed to the thalamus, which is...
All right, so this is boring as hell. I thought it was going to be a funny... Let's see some other shit. Oh, here we go, some screaming.
To our survival. Without it, imminent danger might go unnoticed, failing to launch the fight or flight response that could save us from harm. The fear response leads to a release of adrenaline, which gives our body an extra jolt of energy and an increased heart rate, blood pressure, and respiratory rate.
Right there. That's pretty impressive, right? Increase your heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory rate. Right.
Also releases glucose into the bloodstream, giving you an extra boost in case you need to get the heck out of there. Next, cortisol keeps the sympathetic nervous system up and running. This system is responsible for the fight or flight response, sustaining that heightened sense of energy and alertness received from the adrenaline rush.
The stages of the fear response that are mediated by these structures are at low levels. The initial response to hearing something scary is usually visual.
So there you go, man. That's what fear is all about. People saying unemployment equals depression. Right. Fear is good if it makes you focus sharper. Yeah, fear could save your ass. Fear is good. That's a good point. That's a good point, Joe KI11A. Get a real name, bro. That's like, what kind of fucking name is that? Joe K11A? Is that fear is good. And so is depression. They're just feelings. That's all they are. They're not facts. It's like this one. That's why meditation, in my view, is the way to go, because you observe, oh, look, why am I depressed? It's just a feeling. It's just a thought. It's not connected to anything real. It's just a sensation like anything else. The fear, if you view fear as the same as stubbing your toe and like, oh, my toe hurts. Oh, I have this sensation of fear. What's causing it? What's causing it? What's the thought process behind it? Oh, it's this situation that's causing fear. And it's telling me, I bet I should take a look at this situation, right? But not if you're drugged out. Not if you're throwing drugs at the problem. That's what I'm saying. Identical to vaccinations. Identical. The body is not, biopsychology is biology. It's the same, the things that drive biopsychology drive biochemistry. It's all biochemistry. It's all chemical action, reaction, response, lock and key theory at the synaptic level. That was a lot, right? You didn't think I knew what I was talking about. I do know what I'm talking about. Bringing the shit down to bringing it lower so that you understand it. So here's some more. Fear of the economy. I think I'm going too long on the fear. So let me just talk about this quickly. Fear that the economy is going to collapse. We're not out of this, right? The shit's going to really get crazy soon. Fear. J.P. Morgan scrambles to raise mortgage borrowing standards ahead of the biggest wave of defaults in history. Here we go. So that, you know what's next? You know, everybody's saying, "Oh, I got credit. I got my credit cards. I'm going to rely on my credit cards." What happens when they cut your credit cards off? When they know that nobody could pay, why are they going to offer you credit when they know you can't pay, and they can't default you and collect, because how many people are they going to try to collect by? So another fear, when people realize that they're going to go to the supermarket one day and that credit card is going to say, "Oh, you've reached your limit." Reach my limit? What do you mean? I'm fucking hungry. I had $1,000 credit. Now why is it only $200? Let me get the other card out. Oh, that one's expired. That one's dead. That one doesn't work anymore. That's what we're gonna come to, right? So money fear. Oh, that's a bad one, man. Fear of losing your shit. All right. Let's talk about vaccines. Right? Again, I'm no expert, but I do know greed. I do know opportunism. I know when people are fucking. I could see that shit a mile away, man. And so could Robert F. Kennedy, who exposed Bill Gates' vaccine agenda in a seething report. So here's Bill Gates, very, very vocal, proponent of vaccines worldwide, very profitable. He owns companies. He's got a whole scheme and plan to vaccinate the whole world and somehow corner the market on the way it's done or some bullshit. Let's read. So vaccines for Bill Gates are a strategic philanthropy that feed his many vaccine-related businesses, including Microsoft's ambition to control a global vaccination ID enterprise. You motherfucker. You motherfucker. God damn it. This guy's opportunizing. Right? And gave him dictatorial control over global health policy. So this guy he's not satisfied to have $50 billion. He wants to control your fucking body. He wants to control what goes into your body and what goes out of your body and where is your body. Okay, crazy. Gates' obsession with vaccines seems to be fueled by a conviction to save the world with technology. Really. So promising his share of a $450 million of a $1.2 billion to eradicate polio, Gates took control of India's National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization, which mandated up to 50 doses of polio vaccines through overlapping immunization programs to children before the age of 5. Indian doctors blamed Gates for a devastating non-polio acute paralysis. So there you go. Bill Gates promoting vaccine for polio. And what does he do? He paralyzes 490,000 children between 2000 and 2017. In 2017, the Indian government dialed back Gates' vaccination regime and asked Gates and his vaccine policies to leave India. And the rate of this paralysis dropped precipitously. You see? Now that's evidence. That is evidence of Bill Gates. Why do we even let this fucker in? So here's crazy Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This is Robert Kennedy's son, I guess.
Called agency capture, which is a phenomenon or a dynamic by which
he doesn't. He also, I'm not going to play this, but he also talked about. I skimmed it. He also talks about autism, the creation of autism, right? Where people get vaccinated, and maybe their children are born with autism, or the child is vaccinated very young. There's no problems. They're doing good. The kid is healthy, and boom, they shoot the kid in the ass or in the arm with some kind of vaccination, and a year later the kid's walking around like this guy right here, right? He's walking around like, autism, right? You don't know what the hell's going on, man. It's tragic.
delusion or what have
fucking
you
tragic, man.
ultimately become.
It's so tragic, right? So he's a good guy. He's doing good work, this guy. JFK, blowing the whistle like a mofo on Bill Gates. Right? Well, what else? You know, so drug abuse, alcoholism, vaccines, intubating people with tubes. So what we're trying to get to is we're trying to put all the information together about this coronavirus because it's so blown out of proportion, and we have nothing else to talk about because that's driving the whole conversation right now, as you know, the mainstream media would like it, and as the oligarchs love it to keep everybody down. But we're understanding that it's. I mean, again, it's the first impression I had, which was that in itself it's not so bad. It's just an exaggerated flu, and then you start listening to people like doctors who want to intubate you and vaccinate you and convince you that the shit flies 12 feet and it's on my foot itself. I'm going to kick your ass with my, right? Fear, vaccinations, tubes, antidepressants, alcoholism, drug addiction, fight or flight, financial worries add to the problem. That's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm trying to get at today, man. Are you guys digging me? Hey, what's up, Buddha Girl in the house? Buddha Girl, how you doing, everybody? How's everybody doing in the chat? I know I'm rambling here. Vanderloo is in the house. Epochism. I could read. I can't see. D-Days Take. 2 days take. What's up, 2 days take? Everybody's in the house. Thank you very much. Pat Hacker's around here. They lock us up instead of locking us up. They lock us down instead of locking us up. Damn right. Damn right, Pat Hacker. Vinny DiMartini on the wrench. Thank you, Vinny DiMartini, for your fine moderation. Don't be a dick and you won't get timed out. Right? Don't come crying to me if you get timed out, man. Fucking listen, man. You know what I'm saying, man? Vinny and Tobacco Row, they got my back, man. So, you know, you fuck with me, you fuck with them, they time you out. Right? That's just the way it is, man. So don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. Right? Raymond Duncan, how you doing, man? How you doing? So let's move along. I got a couple more slides. So let's talk about this wonderful doctor, right? So this woman, this is another doctor. Before we get to the doctor from yesterday, this is Dr. Judy Mikovits. Judy Mikovits being interviewed by this woman. Now, this is conspiratorial. This lady's a little kooky, but listen to some of the things she's saying. And it echoes exactly what I've been just saying for the last, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Listen.
Explain, and that would be from the aborted fetal cell lines that have DNA fragments. Just like gene therapy, you want to uptake those into your stem cells, and the stem cells will take up those DNA fragments from the aborted fetal cell lines and cause an insertional mutagenesis. But you're saying this is not a retrovirus. It's not a retrovirus. It's a coronavirus. They're different RNA viruses. But she's right in what she's saying. When you inject all that DNA into an individual, you change their susceptibility to other things because their immune system becomes crippled and dysfunctional, and the fire's always on. So the people most likely to get severe disease from this coronavirus spreading are the vaccine injured. And it
What? She's a real doctor too. Her name is Judy Mikovits. Check her out, man. You could go. It's at the Heidi's Academy. Heidi's Academy. I'll get a subscribe. I just subscribed to Heidi's Academy. I don't know who she is, but it's pretty good. So Dr. Judy Mikolov, she's saying, this woman, she gets a little conspiratorial in there, but that's just my opinion. And she's basically saying, from a doctor perspective, that your shields are down when you're vaccinated. So you know what's interesting too? We might actually have two species. We might have the evolution of a different species. I always said that people that are mindful, people that are able to calm themselves, to sit and see thought evolve, and know that depression, for example, or fear of not having, and you let that fear of losing something, fear of losing what you have is very devastating and shakes most human beings. Right? But if you could get control over that fear, you become a different species. You become superior, in my view, to people that have to run to a doctor for, I don't feel well. I got to go to the doctor for him to tell me how I should feel. I need a pill. I need a pill because I'm so nervous. I can't sleep at night. I'm up thinking. Well, that's what you should be doing. You should be thinking and learning how to control your own body. Different species. So the point I was trying to make is that people who are vaccinated, as opposed to people who are not vaccinated, are different. And the people who are not vaccinated are actually, in effect, dangerous to the people who are vaccinated. Because the non-vaccinated, this is the argument they'll make, that the non-vaccinated people carry all these dangerous, germs, and they're going to infect us clean people who succumb to vaccinations. You see how that thinking goes, and that's how they come at you and say, "Oh no, you're dangerous to us. You can't be around us, the people who we can confirm are vaccinated. You non-vaccinated people." That becomes the argument, right? And you got to fight your ass off to not let someone violate your body like that. Can you dig it? Is follow what I'm saying? So this doctor confirms it too, that the vaccinations are dropping people's immune response, immune defense down. Pow! Fucking figured that shit out a while ago. So fear and vaccination. Well, here's some interesting facts on vaccination. Influenza, flu. It's the same. It's the same. Don't tell me it's not the same. It's the same thing. It's a variation of the flu. That's what influenza is, flu. Flu vaccine is produced by private manufacturers, so supply depends on manufacturers. Did you know that? Did you know that flu vaccines are manufactured? They're manufactured flus. So when they say, one leaked out of a laboratory in Wuhan, it didn't leak out. They put it in there. They put it into the fucking pill that you took and into the injection. And that's how it spread so quickly. That's how this spreads so quickly. It spreads through the vaccines. Right? And then somebody walks by you that's got that you know what I mean? Below is information on the historical supply and distribution of seasonal influenza vaccines in the U.S. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. So, distribution in 2008 and 9, we had 110 million doses of vaccine. Now, we have 170 million doses. So, the amount of vaccines are going up. I don't know, something happened in 2010, 2011. You got a huge spike from, I don't know what happened there, but we're now exceeding those levels of vaccination. Right? Is that because it's mandatory? I think it's coming. I think people are I think that's what's coming. I think that if you're a medical professional, you have to get the vaccine or you can't work here. We're not telling you have to get the vaccine. But if you want to work here, you got to get the vaccine because, again, you're going to, if you're a carrier of any kind of flu, you're dangerous to people who who take vaccines, but may not have been vaccinated to that particular vaccine. You follow that thinking? You follow that logic? What else we got? Oh, so here's this guy, right? Here's another doctor, right? And he interviews our friend, right? So yesterday I did a piece on our friend, what's his name again? I forgot his name. Cameron Seidel, right? Dr. Cameron Seidel, right? And here it's proven now that he is a real doctor. This is WebMD. You could still be conspiratorial and say, WebMD or Medscape, whatever, is fake. No, it's not fake. So here's a doctor interviewing the other doctor. Let's listen.
To coronavirus in context. Today, we're going to talk about whether or not we're managing coronavirus correctly, and do we need to think about a change in our treatment regimens. And my guest is Dr. Cameron Kyle Seidel. He's a physician trained in emergency medicine and critical care, and he practices at Maimonides in Brooklyn, New York.
So there we go. All right. So that's WebMD confirming that our Dr. Seidel is a real person. He's not an actor. All right. So we can move that off the table. The idea we were all looking at him like he was an actor. He may have been scripted. It's not true, right? Because if we're wrong, so is this jackoff interviewing him, who is a medical doctor who works for WebMD. So Maimonides Hospital here in Brooklyn, he's a real doctor, and his assessment is that the use of ventilators is wrong. We're using them wrong. It's not that we're using them to kill people in a higher conspiracy. We're using them because we got it wrong. We got the diagnosis wrong. It's not a respiratory problem. The people can breathe. You can't get the oxygen into the blood. That's what the doctor is saying. That's evolution of thought, right? And we saw it yesterday, if you rewatch the video, that he was very articulate in explaining it, what the problem was. So let's listen to him one more time. Now we can view him. There's another video he put up as well, and we'll look at that one too. Let's look at a little piece of this one, and you'll see that he's very articulate. He is a doctor. He's not in scrubs today. He doesn't have his fancy microphone in the frame, but nonetheless.
Welcome, Dr. Seidel.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
So you've been talking a lot about the number of patients, the percentage of patients actually, that are dying on ventilators. When did you first notice this trend?
So in preparation of opening what was, going to be what became a full COVID positive intensive care unit, we kind of scoured the data just to see what was out there. And obviously, those that have experienced it before us, primarily the Chinese and the Italians.
What's good too is that he's being asked questions, so he's not reading. So that's now off the table. Is he savvy enough to answer medical questions when a doctor is asking him those questions? It appears to be yes.
It was hard to find exactly, what the rate of, what we call successful extubation, meaning someone was put on a ventilator and taken off. And that data is still hard to find. And I imagine there's a lot of people still on ventilators. But from the data we have available, it appears to be, somewhere between 50 and 90%. And it seems that most reports or most published data, puts it around 70%. So
hold that thought on hyperbolic chambers, because you are right. Right, hyperbolic chamber. Just remember that term. How do you get oxygen into the blood if you can't do it with a tube up your nose? What other way of doing it? There is a way of doing it. Watch.
So, that's a very, very high percentage in general when one thinks of a medical disease.
And you've been talking on social media. You say you see things that you've never seen before. What are some of those things that you're seeing?
So when I initially started treating patients, I was under the impression, as most people were, that I was going to be treating acute respiratory distress syndrome that, was similar in some sense to the, ARDS that I saw as a fellow. And as I started to treat these patients, I witnessed things that are just unusual. And I'm sure doctors around the country are experiencing this. It's not, in the past, we don't see patients that are talking in full sentences and not complaining of overt shortness of breath with saturations in the high 70s. It's just not something we typically see. When we're intubating some of these patients, that is to say, when we're putting a breathing tube in, they tend to drop their saturations very quickly. And we see saturations going down to 20 to.
Did you hear what he just said? In English, that means that the object of intubation is to increase the saturation of oxygen in the blood. And this doctor just confirmed, he just testified that when they intubate people, the level of oxygen drops dramatically. It has the opposite effect, but they keep doing it. Listen again. Listen to him say it again.
That are just unusual, and I'm sure doctors around the country are experiencing this. It's not in the past, we don't see patients that are talking in full sentences and not complaining of overt shortness of breath with saturations in the high 70s. It's just not something we typically see. When we're intubating some of these patients, that is to say, when we're putting a breathing tube in, they tend to drop their saturations very quickly. And we see saturations going down to 20 to 30. And typically one would expect some kind of reflexive response from the heart rate, which is to say, usually we see tachycardia. And if patients go too low, then we see bradycardia. And these are things that,
Tachycardia is fast heart rate. Bradycardia is slow heart rate. So you see, this heart starts responding to the lack of oxygen or increased oxygen, right? But the takeaway is that you intubate someone with a ventilator with the hope that you're going to increase the oxygen in their blood, and it goes the other way.
We just weren't seeing. I've seen literally a saturation of 0 on a monitor, which is not something we ever want and something we actually actively try to avoid. And yet, we saw it, and many of my colleagues have similarly have seen, saturations of 10 and 20. And our whole practice is aimed, when we try to put breathing tubes in, is to avoid this very situation. Now, these patients tend to desaturate extremely quickly, and so these situations have occurred. And still, what we're seeing, that there was no change in the heart rate, is just unusual. It's just something that we are not used to. So that's
suggesting that this is more like a high altitude sickness. Is that right? Rather than a viral pneumonia that we're talking about.
So what I was trying to find, the patients in front of me are unlike any patients I've ever seen. And I've seen, a great many number of patients, and I've treated many diseases, and you get used to seeing certain patterns, and just the patterns I was seeing did not make sense. Now this, originally came to be when we had a patient who had hit what we called our trigger to put in a breathing tube, meaning she had displayed a level of hypoxemia, of low oxygen levels, where we thought she would need a breathing tube. And most of the times when patients...
Hypoxemia. Say that 3 times. Hypoxemia. That's a good word. Hypoxemia. It's low oxygen. That should be a T-shirt. Hypoxemia.
Hit that level of hypoxemia, they are in distress, and they can barely talk, and they can't say complete sentences. And she could do all of those, and she did not want a breathing tube. And so she asked that we put it in at the last minute possible, and it was this perplexed.
So here what he's testifying is that it's what I said yesterday. I hate to say I said it already, but he goes on to tell you about the fact that doctors follow protocol. That's what they do. You're asking yourself, well, who tells them to do this? Who's telling them to act a certain way or offer a certain treatment? It's what we've always done is what we're going to do. That's what research is. Doctors, they come to an agreement, a collective agreement, a collective kind of awareness of when we see ADRS, we're going to intubate and pump oxygen in because that's what we're supposed to do. And then what happens is the reaction to that is the opposite. So they're doing the wrong thing, and there's nothing to stop it because that's all they know. You understand? It's not a conspiracy. Right? That's why when people say he's getting labeled as a conspiracy kook, this guy, I believe, right? COVID, this guy, this doctor right here, but he's not conspiratorial. He's telling you that protocol must change, right? That sometimes we get things wrong as human beings. We're not perfect. Yeah, we're doctors. We're the high echelon of human knowledge, I guess, in terms of the human body. But we're not perfect, and we don't always get it right. So the point is that this discussion starts from the fact that we're trying to find out, are people dying of COVID-19, or are they dying of related things? Are they dying of vaccinations? Are they dying of environmental factors, medications, vaccines, right? misappropriation of a tube up the nose. It appears to be yes, yes, and yes, unequivocally. Right? That we're adding to this death rate. Now the other thing was that, the bodies are piling up. The bodies are piling up. There's no evidence of any of that. Right? That why are the bodies piling up? Because you close the funeral parlors. If you close the funeral parlors, what are you going to do? What are you going to have? You're going to have a pile of bodies. Right? The bodies are going to pile up because you're not burying them. You're not pushing them on to the next level. So when you hear the mainstream media scream, the bodies are piling up, the morgues are packed. Well, stop burying the fucking bodies, or stop putting them on ice until you autopsy them. So that's another fear fucking bullshit. Right? I had another thought and I lost it. But anyway, it'll come to me. Let's listen a little bit.
Seeing clinical condition, when I was supposed to put the breathing tube in, when was the last minute possible? And all the instincts as a physician, we're looking to see if she, so-called tires out, if she's getting too tired. None of those things occurred. And it's extremely perplexing, but I came to realize that this condition is not.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, I want to get this thought out before I forget, is that they're saying that the hospital workers, the doctors and the nurses are overworked, that they're short staff. Now, here's the fact. I saw an article, I don't know if I brought it up. I think I forgot to bring it up. But I saw an article that said 50%, half of the medical profession is calling out. They're calling out, oh, no, they're fearful, they're scared that they're going to catch this virus. So they call out sick, or they quit, or they resign in the height of a pandemic. In the height of when they're most needed, they bow out. And that's actually a good thing, because those people should never be in the medical profession again. If you walk away, that's like a fireman saying, you know what, man, the fucking building's on fire. I know I'm a fireman, but that's shit. I'm not running in there, man. Shit's on fire. I quit. Great, quit and never come back. Or a cop say, seeing a bank robbery happen, and your job is to chase the bank robber and, pull out your pistol and start shooting the guy, right? And you say, fuck that shit, man. Those guys got guns. I'm not going near those guys. What, are you kidding me, man? I quit. I don't feel well. I'm going to go home. It's disgraceful, is what I'm trying to say. So the shortage of doctors, the shortage of medical staff is a direct result of the clowns that sign up to be doctors and nurses and then quit and say, oh, this is too dangerous. I'm not going in this. You got to pay me more or something. Some excuse. So morgues being full of bodies, that go ahead and start burying them, right? Hospitals being short. We need the military to come in, military help. Now you're leaning on the military, the poverty draft to get people in there, because the jerk-off doctors that are right in the mix of it, half of them walk off. That's a true fact, right? So that's all I wanted to say about that. That thought of that. The doctors, we're poking holes in every one of the disputes. They're burying bodies in the park in New York. Bull fucking shit. There's no bodies being buried in. They're showing imagery, that drone footage of Hart Island where they're stacking bodies in mass graves. That's what they do at Hart Island. It's poverty. It's Potter's Field. That's what they do on Hart Island. They bury bodies. They just don't release the footage. Now the footage gets out there. So look, how tragic New York is. They're burying bodies in mass graves and parks. Well, Hart Island is technically not a park. It's owned by the Department of Corrections. So it's run by the Department of Corrections. And there's 1.5 million, 2 million, 5 million bodies buried there. They've been doing it for 150 years. You see how the hype is? Oh, the supermarkets are empty. There's nothing. Well, I proved that there are supermarkets wide open and full of food. They're looting. It's dangerous on the streets. They're going to start eating each other. Where? I've been out almost every single day and have not encountered any violence whatsoever. People are packed into the hospitals. Where? We go to the hospitals, we don't see lines. We see freezer trucks outside with no apparent activity of, stacks of dead bodies. You're stacking dead bodies because you're not passing them on to the coroner. You're not passing them on to the next in the chain, the fucking funeral parlor. That's why you got a stack of bodies. Then you wouldn't need a freezer truck if you just kept the economy open. So there's all that shit going on, man. You want to listen to more of this guy?
Nothing I've ever seen before. And so I started to try to read and try to figure out what, and leaving aside the exact mechanism for how this disease is causing havoc on the body, but just trying to figure out what the clinical syndrome looked like.
You talked a little bit about the data from Italy and Madanoni. Were you aware of what was going on in Italy before you noted these observations, or did that come after the fact?
This guy deserves the Nobel. This is when you want to talk about a Nobel Peace Prize or a Pulitzer or some kind of medical, award. This guy gets it. This guy should get it just for speaking it, just for coming forward. If he's credible at this point, he's a credible source. He's not a whistleblower. Get that straight. He's not a whistleblower. There's nothing to blow the whistle on, right? There's no conspiracy, right? There's no people gathering together saying ventilators are going to kill people and we know it, so let's continue. No, it's a revelation, right? And that's what he's doing. He's bringing forward a revelation based on his intellect, based on his ability to see it where nobody else can see it, or no one's willing to talk about it, maybe because they're too tired. So the guy's a revolutionary. He should get credit for that. It's not a whistleblow. Don't call the guy a whistleblower. That's not what he's doing. He's just he's revealing a revelation from the front lines, and he's throwing it out there for anybody who's willing to listen.
So that came a little bit after, and I wasn't aware. I can't even remember the exact timeline, but in my reading, I sort of came upon decompression pulmonary sickness, which is, essentially the bends when divers dive and come up too quick, which seem to have some kind of a mirror picture clinically as these patients. And then, in discussions with other people, it came up that, they do similarly appear clinically. And this is not to say that the pathophysiology underlying it is similar, but clinically they look a lot more like high altitude sickness than do pneumonia. And
you can see the lawsuits coming now, because if the medical profession continues to intubate people and push air into their lungs and destroy the alveoli and give them lung damage and ultimately kill them because the oxygen levels are going the other way. Now that you know the truth, now that this MD is out on YouTube and web media, WebMD telling you about it. Now the lawyers, the Jewish lawyers the lawyers in general, they're not always Jewish. They're not the greedy Jew lawyer. Are not, but they're now snapping their fingers and saying, "Oh, we're gonna sue. Let's sue." That should be illegal. That should be fucking illegal. The people that are gonna sue the medical profession because they got something wrong is a fucking crime. That should be criminal. You file a lawsuit to sue the medical profession because they didn't have a big enough crystal ball to figure out what the fuck was going on ahead of time is not fair. That's just, you know what I mean? So he's credible. Let's move on, man. See, so he did an own video. This one's a little manic. Check this out. So he's getting a lot of questions. Check this out.
I want to quickly describe to the general public what ARDS is, because I'm getting a lot of questions on that. All right, so ARDS is acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS. And it's a conglomeration of findings. It doesn't actually tell you what's going on inside the lung. It's findings that the doctors see about what's going on with the lung. The first thing you'll hear is what's called a low PF ratio. And PF ratio is essentially PaO2, which is a measure of the oxygen in your blood. And F is a measure of the oxygen that you're giving. All right, so let's say I'm giving 100% oxygen and the measurement in my blood is 50. My ratio is basically 50, all right? So that's very low. So there are different measurements, basically 100, 200, 300, okay? That determines your PF ratio, and the lower it is, the worse you have. So you have to have a ratio under this. That's PF ratio. You have to have bilateral infiltrates, which basically, if this is an X-ray.
So now he's talking like a scientist. Now he's a teacher. He's telling you. Now he's talking to the doctors. He's speaking directly to the doctors. Right? He's telling you about PF ratio, that the amount of oxygen that they're pumping in, and they just can't get the blood level up past 50. They're pumping in 100% oxygen. So he's, again, very credible, very, very scientific speech now. Right? It's a revelation, man. It really is. Got to stop what we're doing, right? We're killing people. And it doesn't help with jackoffs on TV like Trump saying, we need more ventilators. Ventilators. You got everybody, Cuomo, ventilators, right? It convinces the people that ventilators are a good thing. Why don't you shut your fucking mouth and tell people to trust the medical field, right? We need more ventilators. Now that they have, the whole Javits Center full of beds with ventilators, they're going to start ventilating people. Why? Because, I don't know, because that's what we're supposed to do, right? Start listening to the people that are in the front lines for a change, like this guy.
All right, you look and you see what's called infiltrates, which are just white stuff in the lung. All right, and lastly, it has to, there's a couple other, lastly, it has to not be explained by any heart issues. So what ARDS is a conglomeration of findings. We see that you basically have hypoxemia, which you have poor oxygenation. You're not getting enough oxygen through your lungs. You have bilateral infiltrates, so you have all this white stuff in your lung, and it's not explained by heart issues.
So anyway, it starts to sound like a Charlie Brown commercial after a while when you listen to it. A Charlie Brown cartoon. As you listen to it, it's very scientific, it's very specific. So the guy knows what he's talking about. So that's now off the table. Now, someone said hyperbolic oxygen therapy. All right, so here's another doctor who, this guy is aware of the other guy. All right, so this guy is addressing the other guy's issue of, if he's right, then there are other ways to get oxygen into someone's blood. Right? I had said yesterday, because what do I know? I said, try to inject it into their blood, right? I guess that's not how they do it. It has to go in through the alveoli. And there's other ways of doing it, by pressurized cabins, 3 times the pressure of 3 times the pressure in the cabin, and then that's 3 times the pressure of air going into your lungs. So let's listen to I don't understand it exactly, but let's listen to the doctor explain it.
Here with HBOT USA, we wanted to do a special video specifically on hyperbaric oxygen as it relates to COVID-19. So no doubt, coronavirus, COVID-19 has impacted all of us. For some of us, it's directly impacted our own health, or it's impacted the health of somebody we love. For sure, it's impacted the economy and our businesses. So we're all struggling with this virus one way or another, and in some cases, multiple ways. We wanted to do a video specifically about hyperbaric oxygen. We are getting a tremendous amount of emails and inquiries and questions regarding the use of oxygen therapies as it relates to fighting infections in general, as well as specifically fighting this particular virus. And
so now we're moving forward, right? You see what's happening now? We're moving forward to the discussion of oxygen therapies. You see how it progresses? I don't know if this is valid I don't know if people are interested in this. It interests me because I understand kind of what they're talking about. Right? But when you understand the nuts and bolts of what doctors are doing and what they're faced with, and the fact that half of them now appear to be cowards running out the back door, is that it's not a perfect science. And now they're evolving their therapy, which is what I said originally about AIDS, where they start throwing all kinds of, antiquated therapies at something that they don't know how to handle. They don't even know what it is. And then some brilliant guy comes along and says, guess what? I read the documents, and I'm looking at the meter on this breathalyzer here, and the oxygen levels and the numbers are all fucked up, right? We're supposed to be oxygenating their blood, and it's going down, right? And then the revelation occurs. And then they go into another direction. So maybe pressurized cabins for people. Right? How hard is that, right? We're giving them the wrong therapy right now. That's all I'm saying. Sedating people and sticking them on a tube for 7 days until they die is not working. Right? Stick them in a deep depressurization chamber. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds good.
So, we're seeing more and more information coming out that this virus is different than other viruses that we've seen in the past. We're seeing some evidence to show that maybe the way it's impacting lung tissue is very different than other respiratory infections. There was a video that went out by a Dr. Kyle Seidel recently talking about, this seems to be much more of a cellular oxygenation issue than it is a more typical ARDS or acute respiratory distress syndrome. In fact, that a lot of these patients don't have respiratory symptoms, and their heart rate seems to be normal, their respiration rate seems to be relatively normal. However, they are not able to oxygenate properly. Now, we're not exactly sure why that is. We're not exactly sure what the mechanism is, but we do know a few things. We know that in order for us to absorb oxygen, we need a pressure gradient. So when we live in the atmosphere that we live in, there's a pressure of air being exerted on us.
This is important, right? This is important. He's talking about pressure to breathe in. Listen to this. This makes perfect sense.
Feel that pressure, but it's there. And that pressure creates a gradient that the oxygen levels outside of our body are higher than the oxygen levels inside of our body. So when we breathe in, it allows diffusion of oxygen across the alveola into our circulatory system and then bind to red blood cells. Now, what we also know is if people are having acute oxygen issues, the examples that have been used are like being in an airplane at altitude and the cabin pressure being released, or synonymous with acute mountain sickness. In these particular cases, the ability of the pressure gradient to drive oxygen into our cells is being hindered, and therefore there's an inability to oxygenate our tissues. Well, that's exactly what hyperbaric helps do. So hyperbaric creates an artificially pressurized environment. So it increases that pressure gradient far beyond what our atmosphere does.
So there you have it. He just said a hyperbolic chamber. Get in the chamber, right? I think I have something on here. We'll come back to this guy. So a hyperbolic oxygen therapy involves breathing pure oxygen in a pressurized room or tube. Well, the tube isn't working out so well, so the pressurized room might be something we could look at. Hyperbolic oxygen therapy is a well-established treatment of decompression sickness, a hazard of scuba diving. Other conditions treated with hyperbolic oxygen therapy include serious infections, bubbles of air. We're not talking about any of that. Right? In hyperbolic oxygen therapy chamber, the air pressure is increased 3 times higher than normal air pressure. Under these conditions, your lungs can gather more oxygen than would be possible breathing pure oxygen at normal air pressure. Motherfucker, right? Pressure. We're talking about atmospheric pressure. Oh, wow. How about that? Not pushing the air into the lungs and destroying them, but having pressure and letting the air move, I guess, on its own. I guess that's what we're seeing. Your blood carries this oxygen throughout the blood, throughout the body, hemoglobin, right? This helps fight bacteria, blah, 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 right? So it helps all this shit right here, right? But that's what we're trying to do. So there you have it, man. There is your evidence. There is your conclusive evidence. I'm sorry if I went on and on about this, but this is probably the longest show I ever did. But anyway, so it's important. I think what we're discovering, it's very important. You could say, okay, it's a conspiracy theory. People love a conspiracy theory, but you notice what happens with most conspiracy theories when you poke at the facts and you stick to the facts. You realize a lot of it is false assumption that people have a hidden agenda, and usually the people that come up with those kinds of conspiracy theories usually have a hidden agenda. They're usually not nice people that come up with these ideas because that's where their brain is at. That's where their mind is at, right? Because they're corrupt. So the idea that coronavirus is some sort of higher conspiracy put together by the CIA and the FBI, and they leaked it out of Wuhan, right? or they transplanted it from America and put it in Wuhan and blame the Chinese so that they could sue the Chinese for $25 trillion. You can believe all that stuff, or you can believe that we've gone astray in terms of human health, that human bodies are becoming more susceptible to viruses as we evolve, if you want to call it evolution, evolving into more, advanced creatures. We're losing our ability to fight simple virus, simple threat, right? We don't have lions chasing us anymore. We're not going to walk out the door and get stomped by an elephant. But our bodies are starting to, to lose their ability to fend off simple virus as the viruses change. And then we become reliant on vaccines. And that's something that has to change. Right? Our treatment, we're under attack. That's for sure. It's safe to say that we're under attack right now by a virus, something that we're not aware of. It does seem to be new. It does seem to be novel. Right? The coronavirus, the novel coronavirus, seems to be novel. It's something new. It's something that the medical profession is haggling with. They don't know what to do with it. They're getting pumped with bad numbers. Right? They're listening to the CDC that says we're going to need 180,000 beds in New York, and then it turns out they only need like 15 to 20,000 beds. They scare the shit out of all the doctors. Half of the medical profession quits because they don't want to go in there and die. Even the medical profession is medical people are scared. See how the whole thing gets twisted? The fact is, then, but upon further observation, when you walk around New York City, you don't see any of it. Right? All you see is scared people and a lot of misinformation. You don't see bodies piling up in the park. You don't see, obscene amount of people getting dragged out the back door, thrown in freezer trucks. You don't see people fighting over toilet paper. So that's what I'm trying to say, man. We got to get the facts straight, man. So how's everybody doing, man? Thank you all for listening. Mark Conte reporting. Ian Clay in the house. Pat Hacker still hanging in there. Vanderloo. Thomas Robinson, what's up, boss? Haven't seen you in a while. Jason Walsh. Cytoplasmic nanobot. That's a name right there. I could be wrong. That's a great name. Loyal opposition in the house. Jason Walsh, Miss Chicago here. Chris Mike. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by today. Take you out. Oh, yeah. Nitrogen. Yeah, let's try some nitrogen, man. Some kind of helium, man. Stay well, man. Stay fit. None of that changes, man. None of that changes. Stay fit. Ooh. Have a good day, everybody. So when you guys, nobody got their stimulus check yet, but when you get it, become a Patreon of this channel, man. It's good for your soul, man. You come here, you eat my grapes, you drink my water, right? Fucking become a Patreon of the channel, PayPal, right? You keep everybody happy, you keep me going, man, because this is brutal, man. You think what you're doing is hard? Fucking this shit is killing me, man. I'm dying, man. I like it. Marcus Conte.
Marcus Conte reporting.